Good afternoon. My name is Barbara Fuller. As chair of the board, I welcome you to this April 19th, 2022 regular meeting of the Washtenaw County Board of Road Commissioners. Our communications manager, Emily Kaiser, will describe how our meetings operate, how to access the agenda packet, and how people may participate remotely. Emily, please.
Thanks, Commissioner. There are multiple ways to make public comment during today's meeting, whether you're joining us in person or virtually. If you're here in person and would like to make public comment, please fill out the sign-in sheet now. If you're joining us virtually, we will ask you to virtually raise your hand at the appropriate time in the agenda. If you are joining us virtually, the chat feature on this Zoom meeting is available only as technical support for users on their computer or smartphone. If you are experiencing technical issues with audio or video during the meeting, please submit a comment in the chat feature and I will help you troubleshoot. If you're a staff member experiencing issues, please contact the IT help desk for assistance. The audio and video of this meeting is being recorded. A link to the video recording will be posted to wcroads.org in the coming days. There are printed copies of today's meeting agenda on the table here, and it's also posted to wcroads.org. There's a link available in the chat if you're joining us virtually. Thanks, Commissioner.
Thank you, Emily. At this moment, I will call the meeting to order. Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Chair Barb Fuller,
Present.
Vice Chair Rod Green,
Here.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Present.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Here.
and Commissioner Joanne McCullum.
Present. Thank you. If you join me in the pledge to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chair Fuller, I forgot to announce the directors.
Would you like to do that now,
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes, please.
Thank you. If you would proceed.
The following directors are in attendance. Managing Director Cheryl Siddle, Director of Engineer and County Highway Engineer Matt McDonald, Director of Operations Jim Harmon, and Director of Finance and IT Dan Ackerman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Support. Thank you. Any discussion, additions, deletions, changes? Seeing none. Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCullum,
Yes.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Next item on our agenda is acceptance of 3 sets of minutes. May I have a motion to accept the board meeting minutes of April 5th, 2022 as presented, appearing on pages 4 through 17 of the packet? So moved.
Support.
Any discussion? Additions, deletions, changes? Seeing none. Aaron, if you would please.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCullum,
Yes.
and Commissioner Rod Green,
Aye.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. The board meeting minutes of April 5th are approved as presented. May I now have a motion to accept the working session minutes of April 5th, 2022 as presented, appearing on pages 18 through 20 of the packet?
So moved.
Support. Any discussion? Seeing none. Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Joanne McCullum,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. The working session minutes of April 5th, 2022 are approved as presented. Next item on our agenda is approval of the closed working session minutes of April 5th. Sorry, I had the wrong date here in my notes. 2022. Thank you.
Support.
I'm going to ask that we pause briefly here for the commissioners to review the minutes. They were, because it was a closed session, they were distributed moments ago. And they will be collected at the conclusion of the vote or of the meeting. everybody? All right. Any changes needed to those minutes? Seeing none, Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCullum,
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Aye.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. The closed working session minutes of April 5th are approved as presented. Next item on the agenda is the public comment section. This is the time set aside on the agenda to receive comments from the public. This is not intended to be a period for dialogue. Each person will be allotted 3 minutes to address the board, and Emily will now explain how people may be recognized to offer comments. Emily?
Thanks, Commissioner. So as Commissioner Fuller said, since this is a hybrid meeting with both in-person and virtual attendees, we're going to take turns between those attending in person and those attending virtually. For virtual attendees, we'll ask you to virtually raise your hand now. If you're viewing the meeting on your computer, first make sure to click Join Audio. You can then raise your hand by clicking the Participants or Reactions button at the bottom of your screen and then the Raise Hand button. If you dialed into the meeting from your touch-tone phone, raise your hand by dialing *9. I will unmute virtual participants with raised hands one at a time. I'll announce your username or the last 4 digits of your phone number when it is your turn to speak. Please share your name and address before beginning your comments. For in-person attendees, we will start with those of you who signed up on the sign-in sheet as you walked in. If you didn't sign in, you are still welcome to make comment. I'll notify you when it is your turn. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to share their comments with the board.
Thank you, Emily. Do we have anyone who wishes to comment?
On the sign-in sheet back here, we do have one, Mr. Jerry Clifton, if you want to go up to the podium.
Mr. Clifton. Welcome back.
Glad to be back. Glad to meet all of you. I'll keep this very relatively under 3 minutes.
If you could speak up just a wee little bit, please.
Okay, I'll keep it under
Oh,
3.
that's better.
Okay. Basically, I have been since 1988 trying to get something done on Stevenson Drive in the form of safety. I would appreciate whatever y'all could do. I'd appreciate that. I think I found out the problems that I got on Stevenson Drive in Superior Township. The township made a commitment. They was going to do a resolution. They supported speed drives. I have to have the conversation with one of the members of the board. Then he changed his mind and didn't do it last night. Okay, it's supposed to have been done Monday. But anyway, I'll want to submit these here to the board.
Okay, if you want to hand them to the secretary, she'll distribute them for you.
Thank you. And all I ask is if whatever you can do and look at your process. I had a conversation with Cheryl and I tried to explain that there ain't no speed bumps in Superior Township. There's some speed humps and nobody wants humps. So in your literature, you're saying humps, which humps is totally different from speed bumps. And when you say humps, most people don't want them, okay? Because you can go to your township. I mean, if Superior Township and look at what they got right off the MacArthur from the fire station. Those are humps, okay? And I don't even want that, but in part of your process, you say, go back and look at to see what you done, does it work? So you're not even doing justice for those people that live there because they there, you need to go take them up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clifton.
Okay, commissioners, we also have a virtual hand raised. So let's see. This is Luke Schernberg. You should be able to unmute yourself. Go ahead, Luke. We should be able to hear you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Luke Schmerberg from Schmerberg Law in Saline. Our address here is 20.
Spell that?
Sure. It is SCHMERBERG. Our
Thank
address
you.
is 209 East Michigan Avenue in Saline. And I'm here on behalf of the owners of 3 parcels who are currently included in Special Assessment District 13 in York Township, which is part of, or what's interesting because the Special Assessment District itself is nearly entirely the Timber Ridge subdivision. However, these 3 parcels, which I've identified on a petition which I submitted as Merck's, James, and Cool. These 3 parcels are not part of the Timber Ridge subdivision. The homes that are on these parcels predate the subdivision, and they formerly accessed Judd Road via a gravel drive that ran north to Judd Road. These actually have Judd Road addresses. When Judd Road was reconstructed and the new bridge was put in a couple of years ago, there is no longer a way to go north to Judd Road. There's about a 10-foot wall where the gravel drive formerly accessed the road. And as a result, the gravel drive was extended south and linked up with Green Valley Drive, part of the Timber Ridge subdivision. On March 2nd, there was a hearing on the petition by the members of Timber Ridge subdivision to create a special assessment district. And then these 3 parcels were also added to that special assessment district. Now, the enabling statute that permits the special assessment district to be created says that a special assessment district must comprise parcels that, quote, front or touch upon the roads in the special assessment district. Of these 3 parcels, none of them, Merck's, James, or Cool, front upon a road that is part of the special assessment district. It's possible that the Cool parcel touches upon it on 2 sides. It's possible that the James parcel touches upon it on the very extreme southwest corner, but the Merck's parcel does not even touch upon any of the roads that make up the special assessment district. So I'm asking that these 3 parcels, and I'm going to identify them by parcel number, S1915-100-007, which is the Merck's parcel, S1915-100-008, which is the James parcel, and S1915-200-002, which is the Cool parcel, be removed from the special assessment district, as I do not think that the Washtenaw County Road Commission has the authority to put these parcels, which do not front, and in one case cannot be even said to touch upon the roads in the special assessment district, cannot be made, they cannot be put into special assessment district 13. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Emily?
Okay, that is all the raised hands or those who have signed in. Is there anybody else who is in attendance that did not sign in that wants to make comment? Zora, go ahead. Just state your name and address before you begin, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Laura Clifton. I live at 8692 Pine Court in Ypsilanti, Superior Township. And I don't understand a lot of things because my husband's trying to explain things to me. But we've been living there ever since 1970 in the Superior Township. We don't seem to be getting nothing. We pay taxes. We put people in office. We vote y'all in office. You come into office, but look like you kind of step on us and don't give us anything. We asking for speed bumps on Stevens Drive. We have no speed bumps in our area. Seem like all around us, they put speed bumps right now on the other side of Holmes Road. They're working over there now. We have speed bumps all around us, but we don't have speed bumps. What is speed bumps supposed to be for? Ain't it supposed to be for our safety? I live on the corner and I had a car come up in the yard, almost hit me and my grandbabies. I sit there in my driveway and I watch 3 kids get hit on that corner, and the same man hit 2 of them kids. He didn't know, the same person hit 2 kids on that corner down there. Those cars come down there so fast. I stand in my yard and I look, I see, man, that car going fast. We got kids on this corner. We have children. Why would it take to get speed bumps? I thought it was for our safety. That's my question. I want to know. Think about that. What do it take to get speed bumps? Everybody else got them. What they had to go through, all these laws and all of these 10 points and all this kind of stuff. We got to go through all of this to get speed bumps for our safety? Think about it.
Thank you for your comments. Emily?
There are no more virtual raised hands. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to make comment? Okay, I think we are all set.
All set? All right. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is written communications. They appear on pages 21 through 34 of the packet. Commissioners, is there anything you wish to draw our attention to or ask about? Commissioner McCollum.
I just want to say that the article about the Washtenaw County Road Commission, a vital B2B trail partner, I thought that was very well written.
Thank you. For the record, I'd like to note that our managing director, Cheryl Siddle, did respond to Mr. Clifton's concerns in written form. And on the final page of her response to you, Mr. Clifton, she offered some additional items for consideration as well. Anything else? All right. Next item on our agenda. Commissioner and staff follow-up to public comment. I see none. We'll move on to the new business consent agenda. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, items 1 through 11, pages 35 through 50 for background in the packet?
So moved.
Certainly.
Thank you. Any discussion? Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Next item on the agenda are 2 action items. May I have a motion to approve action item number 1 regarding the right-of-way acquisition for the flashing beacon project in Freedom Township? The motion appears on page 51 of the packet, background appearing on pages 70 through 73. May I have a motion?
Certainly you may.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there discussion?
Overdue.
Well, that was succinct. Thank you. All right. Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Aye.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Action item number 2, may I have a motion to approve action item number 2, rejecting petitions for reconsideration of the York Timber Ridge Special Assessment District. The motion appears on page 52, background appearing on pages 73 and 74 of the packet.
So moved.
Support.
Thank you. Is there discussion? Seeing none, Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Aye.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Next item on our agenda are the reports of our county commissioners. Emily, do we have either of our liaisons present today to remark?
Not today, Commissioner.
All right, thank you.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. We do have Commissioner Schenk. Sorry. She's at the bottom of my list. Commissioner Schenk, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Good afternoon. My comment today is just a thank you to Cheryl Siddall for meeting with me last week regarding the state of the roads and what options there are to fix them. And of course, unfortunately, the answer was limited, but I appreciate the time that you took with me and your willingness to work with us on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. If there's nothing further, we'll move on to the road commissioner reports. Commissioner Yamas?
Yes, so I did chat with the commissioner on April 6th. And we had no participants at that time come speak to the commissioners. That's the opportunity for the public to come and speak with them. Specifically, we have them once a week on Wednesdays from noon to 1. I reviewed Ed Noyola's legislative update from the County Road Commission. And it looks like we have, bill created the Local Unit of Infrastructure Act There's a lot to look forward to, and that is the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Green?
Just that I had an opportunity to go by the area of Pine and Stevens, just to take a look at what those concerns were, get an eyewitness view of it.
Thank you. Commissioner Douglas Fuller?
I did not file a written report only because what I have to say is really short. Tomorrow, Wednesday, I have a slight conflict in scheduling. The Watts Executive Committee is meeting, and I will not be able to go to that because there is a extraordinary meeting of the McChrysip Executive Committee membership, of which I am one. So I'm going to go to McChrysip, which is in Mount Pleasant tomorrow, and our managing director will be covering Watts for me, or for us, actually. So concludes my report.
Thank you. Commissioner McCollum?
Yes, I viewed the virtual public meeting on the East Delhi Road and Maple Forster Road bridges.
Hmm.
And I must say the pictures were beautiful.
Structures are magnificent.
There is beautiful. Looks like a tourist area. On April 7th, I attended the County Road Association webinar on updates and resources for local government. And there was a lot of information that was given at that webinar. What I did glean from it is that as a state, Michigan State, we used to be number 8 in population, and we've gotten down to 10. So that can have a consequence on revenue and things like that. So I thought that was pretty interesting. You have to look at everything when it comes to revenue. And on April 13th, I attended the chat with a commissioner, and there were 3 people who attended that chat, and I think it went very well. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner McCollum. I have no report to submit, so we will move along to the report of our managing director and her staff. Those reports appear on pages 75 through 92 of the packet. Cheryl?
All right, thank you. I'll start by saying yesterday I sent out an email of some rather big news. Jim Harmon has elected to retire on June 15th. And while we are very happy for him and his family as he looks forward to the next phase of his career here, that's obviously going to be a big hole for us to fill as well. So we will be actively pursuing candidates for that role. But again, big change for us as well as Mr. Harmon himself. So we're very happy for him and a lot of work ahead for us there. So big one there. I think I've shared with all of you, but we do have the next round of TPOAM negotiations. Those are scheduled for May 9th. So we're pleased that we were able to get that on the books. And finally, as Commissioner Schenk indicated, she and I sat down last week. We did have a wonderful conversation about local roads and many of the challenges that come into play with respect to funding, but it's particularly on local roads, a challenge for us. And I think she's well aware of that, and hopefully learned a little bit more about how we are funded. Very complicated. And congratulations to Commissioner Schenk, as she has just been appointed the vice chair of the SEMCOG Transportation Coordination Committee. So Washtenaw County will be well represented at SEMCOG as usual. So
What committee is that again, please?
it's a big one for us. It's the Transportation Coordination Committee.
Transportation Coordination. Okay.
All right. So do you have any questions for me before I hand it over to staff?
I do not. I don't see any. So-
Okay. Happy to start with Jim to give a report on Operations Department.
Good afternoon, Jim Harmon.
Yes, indeed. I've elected to retire. My last day at the road commission will be on Wednesday, June 15th.
What time?
Well, that depends on Mrs. Harmon.
I see.
She may elect to retrieve me early. That's my 33rd wedding anniversary.
Oh, big day.
Lots of reasons to celebrate. Over 27 years of service to this agency, and it has been my privilege and honor. I shared with the directors and Cheryl on Monday morning. I drive about this organization, I review documents in this building, and my fingerprints are literally everywhere. And I take great pride in that accomplishment. So I look forward to successfully closing this chapter of my professional life and moving on to new adventure. So I thank you for the opportunity. And I'm sure we'll talk about it more. I have 2 more months of good work to accomplish, and I plan to stay very productive and very busy. Yes, sir.
If I may,
Commissioner Fuller.
Hillsdale County is looking.
I've heard Charlevoix County. Thank you. I appreciate the tip.
Professional as always, Jim.
Thank you. Thank you. Staff report for the operations department can be found in your lengthy booklet, beginning on page 76 and concluding on page 80. It covers the period of March 28th through April 10th. You'll see in review of that information a considerable effort. Our intention was to conclude winter, although we had a little more snow, which was delightful. Beautiful contrast, that fresh white snow with the beautiful flowers and green grass that have emerged out there. That did not, in fact, present much of an issue for us. We even had a little bit come through early this morning. Superintendent dispatched a few drivers in order to deal with that up on the flex route, US 23 flex route.
Was it icy? Is that what was going on?
There was the potential with pavement temperature and the precip that came down. So it was more precautionary on behalf of the Michigan Department of Transportation for their US highway system.
Right.
You can see that we endeavored to work through the spring thaw. Certainly many references to tons of stone patching, cold patching, spot scraping, and really working our way through as the roads have in fact thawed out, and the moisture content in the road beds is diminishing. So we're able to increase the level of scraping and work and restoration of the roads following this winter. With that said, we are well into construction. Moon Road in York Township between Saline Milan Road and Willis Road is well underway. The direct force work by our people, forestry, roadside drainage, culvert replacement is completed, and our subcontractor is actively crushing the existing failed pavement and converting that into a stabilized base for new asphalt. I expect the pulverization to be completed this week, getting underway with the shaping and compaction of that crushed asphalt, and then the asphalt paving will follow shortly after that. So we're excited, reminding the board from this morning that this board is in partnership with York Township for that primary road improvement. They stepped up to help cover the balance of cost. You had appropriated roughly half the cost, $500,000. They put forward $409,000 so that we could do that entire length of roadway this year. And it's our first major project that the department's working on. In addition, Pleasant Lake Road between Smythe Road and Mercedes in Sharon Township, another paved primary road, is being milled today. That cold milling of that pavement is expected to be completed today, and preparations will be made to resurface that with a fresh lift of asphalt this week, weather permitting, and it looks like it will. And then we're off to the races on a whole bunch of other projects. We have a second and final culvert we're replacing on Macrone Road in Augusta Township. We have a number of other culverts we'll be working on here shortly. Our grade alls are being brought to bear for roadside berm removal and ditching in preparation for limestone and gravel resurfacing. We have numerous township agreements that you've approved in partnership with our township partners I expect approximately 11 more to be brought before this board. The majority of those on the May 3rd board meeting. Just came out of phone call conversation, negotiating final terms on agreements with York Township, a third agreement, a sizable agreement that they'll be taking up this week under a special meeting, and likely to improve. Dexter Township spoke with Gary Whitaker, Township Supervisor for Salem Township, that provided direction on what he'd like to bring to his board, their meeting in May, and so on and so on and so on. So it's very exciting. We are very appreciative, of course, with the participation and funding and support from our local townships. It's making a tremendous difference across the county for our community. And then finally, I'd report Hobbs and Black, our engineer architect for our new salt barn, salt storage, chemical storage facility to replace our aging salt dome and our brine tank corral here at the main yard. That construction is intended for next year. Design is ongoing. They've completed the on-site survey work and also the soil borings for the foundation design for that new building. And that's advancing. They're actively working on the design architecture for that site plan. And we hope to see that soon and work with them, work through that to confirm our understanding and our wishes and needs. And then they'll be submitting to the Scioto Township Planning Commission to secure approval from our local community for that project. And yes, the large oak tree that's out back, I have made it abundantly clear, preserve the tree, site this such that it's outside the drip line of that large oak. And it is our intention to preserve that large tree back there behind the existing brine tank corral. That concludes my remarks, and I'd be happy to answer any questions from the board.
I do have a
Commissioner
question.
Doug Fuller.
Is Mr. Atsuba going to participate in the funding of the new salt barn here?
As a matter of fact, yes. We were approached, we've been talking to MDOT for probably a dozen years about helping us replace that dome. And last year, representatives from MDOT met us on site. We had meetings, and they are committed to participating in funding that project based on the pro rata share of the last 5 years of salt usage out of this facility. MDOT is the majority of salt that comes out of here, goes on the trunk lines, so they will participate at a higher rate than we will. 5 years after the construction, there's an audit looking at the subsequent 5 years of salt use, and then there's a reconciliation of the contract at that time. So we're looking for estimate of costs from Hobbs and Black so that I can speak with MDOT representatives and secure that agreement and bring that to you for formal approval. Thank you, Ben. Appreciate that question.
I have a question on Scioto Church Road, Prospect to Zeeb. I saw the big digital signs out there this morning.
Between Parker and Zebra.
Parker and
Yes.
Zeeb, I'm sorry, yes.
That is part of our millage project. We have completed tree trimming, forestry operations previously, and getting ready to mobilize the road resurfacing work. There's two segments of that. One is crush and shape, pulverize and repave, and the other is mill and repave. Two separate millage projects.
So is that road going to be closed?
It will. It'll be closed to all but local traffic. Local traffic emergency services, any vendors that are serving property certainly will be allowed into the work zone. Through traffic will be prohibited, and we'll be getting underway soon with that work early in the season to get that done. And some of that all is in coordination with our Director of Engineering, County Highway Engineer, and his team's work. Liberty Zeeb roundabout. There's a lot of project coordination between the two departments to help minimize complications and adversely impacting progress schedules.
What's the length of the closure if you had to ballpark it, Jim?
Month.
A month?
Yeah,
And the church knows?
they certainly will.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions for Jim? I don't see any. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're smiling a lot these days, Jim.
I don't think we're going to get rid of that.
No, probably not.
Good thing. Next up is Dan Ackerman, if he has any voice left after having run the working session this morning.
Dan Ackerman, Director of Finance and IT. And after this morning, you're probably sick of hearing from me, so I'll keep my comments fairly brief, but
Never tired of
Thank you.
hearing.
although usually they are anyway. But I appreciate the board's attention this morning, talking about our 2021 financials and Q1 2022 budget. We threw a lot of numbers at you, but I just appreciate everybody's attention, and you all asked some great questions, and I continue to encourage you to do so. And certainly I feel like we have an open book, and anything that you would like me to show you, I'd be more than happy to. So just appreciated the conversation this morning. And as we said, the next board meeting will have a budget for approval. I forgot to acknowledge a few folks in the budget presentation. I do want to acknowledge both Matt and Jim and their staff. The budget really is a team effort, and we couldn't do it without them. And I like how they look at things a different way than I do. And hopefully we arrive at the same numbers, but if we don't, we always have some great conversations and can either agree to disagree or, a little give and take here and there. But I think it's a great way to handle the budget, just kind of check each other a little bit. And usually we all have homework to do after our initial meetings. So I always appreciate that as well. And the end product is usually a really good, good product. So I just appreciate all their efforts. And also I forgot to acknowledge Emily. So a lot of times I will give her something like, say, a PowerPoint presentation, and it's probably, high-level high school, mid-level college presentation. And then Emily takes it and it looks like grad work. So she's just a whiz as far as just taking something and really polishing it and make it look professional. And this is, I believe, year 2 with our new budget format. And Emily's made it very easy. We work well together, and really happy with the results. So I just wanted to make sure to give her some kudos on that. And also I'm going to be focusing my attention on the 2021 Act 51 report, which is due on May 1st. So, and Commissioner Barfel, I need to talk to you about a certification that I need from the chair of the board. So maybe after this meeting, I'll talk to you about that.
Okay.
We always make sure I take a lot of pride in being able to submit it on time. You can ask for an extension. I know some road commissions 6 months after the fact submit it, but I believe one of my first years here, I actually drove the report to Lansing because I wanted to get it to them in time. And, that, of course, nothing was done electronically in those days, and snail mail wouldn't have gotten it there. So it's just a source of pride to try to, meet all the deadlines that we can. And I think it makes our organization look good. So that's forthcoming. Also, as far as IT, appreciate everybody's patience with some of the technical issues we had this morning. The technology is still fairly new, of course, and we can expect that. But I do want to acknowledge Chris and Josh. They got things up and running, obviously, for the board meeting. And to Chris's credit, he's already submitted an email to our vendor to see how things can be avoided in the future. And, Chris is always very proactive with everything. We have a lot invested in the technology, and we want it to work as best as it can. We had a meeting yesterday with our vendor about the assembly room, and there were some items that Chris, again, we sign a contract, here's our expectations, and all of our expectations should be met. And I was just really impressed with how he's trying to keep the vendor on task very professionally, and just feel fortunate that we have someone like Chris that's a part of our organization. If an organization doesn't have a Chris or a Josh, then how can they protect their interests as far as making these investments, making sure that they work properly. And I know he's also anxious to move on and to the Teams phone project too. So that will hopefully be taking place in the next month. And that's my report, unless there's any other questions for me.
I would just like to thank you for getting us the audit report in plenty of time to review and review.
There's a lot there.
And
Yes.
calculate, why didn't that add up?
Yep.
Or why did it? And also for the PowerPoint that came in earlier. I really appreciate your efforts to make that happen this year. Thank you.
My pleasure. Any other
Anybody?
questions?
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Last but not least, we have Matt McDonell, our Director of Engineering, County Highway Engineer. He has some things to bring us up to speed and some good news, I think.
Yes, Matt McDonell.
Well, you better have now after that. Think of
Yeah,
something,
well.
Matt.
Matt
Make it
McDonell,
up.
Director of Engineering.
Your big moment.
I also have with me, who really is the spotlight, Brent Schlack and Elena Yadikina. They are really the reason for the good news. Ultimately, I passed out a handout to all of you. It is the SEMCOG organization that awards that CMAQ funding, so congestion mitigation and air quality, and it is a competitive grant program. I have the good pleasure of informing the board that we were successful with a number of projects for fiscal years 2024 to 2026 for a total of $6.6 million. So that's great news for this organization, and it really speaks to the technical know-how and understanding of the grant program and the vast experience they have in doing that. So Brent and Elena do a great job of putting these applications together and strategizing, working with Watts, working with our partners in Washtenaw County, like for instance, the first fiscal year on the page that says congratulations with the list of Washtenaw County Road Commission projects. We have a joint project with the city of Saline on the Ann Arbor Saline Road corridor. And then also another joint project in fiscal year 2026 with the city of Dexter. So we are working cooperatively. And just as a side note, in the fiscal year 2026, we are going to be building a roundabout at Island Lake and Dexter Chelsea Road, along with upgrading signals at Island Lake, Dexter Pinckney, and also throughout the city along that Main Street Ann Arbor corridor.
So is that west of the trestle, the over?
So the roundabout would be just east of the viaduct. And then
Oh,
we'd be
that one by-
upgrading our signal west of the viaduct at Dexter, Pinckney, and Island Lake.
So the roundabout is by
A&W.
A and W.
A&W, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. And if
Okay.
you're interested, I've got a schematic of it. We're going to be
I'm sure you do.
obviously going out for design services. It's a big project, so that'll be coming forth. This is just a notification of the award. Ultimately, all these projects need to end up in the TIP. And so there'll be TIP amendments that will get this programmed. And then once we get it programmed, then we'll start to work on all these projects. It seems like a while out there talking about fiscal year 24 through 26, but really with these federal aid programs and funding, it takes a while for us to dot all our I's and cross all our T's and get through all the environmental clearances. So just wanted to thank Elena and Brent for their good work and continued work, and just what a resource they are to be able to successfully keep investing in our road network and our signal system. So with that, I also, Emily, would you mind putting on the screen? Wanted to go over with you another funding source. So we are putting together safety applications. And again, Brent and Elena are masterful at this. So they've done a great job again this year, kind of identifying candidates. Now the safety program is, again, a competitive program. It's meant to address existing issues that may be out there on our system. So one of the ways to measure issues is to look at UD10s or crash reports. And so some of the examples of products in the past, you can see this is not a straight road whatsoever. And so you've got a lot of geometry going on as far as horizontal geometry with curves. And so north being up and south being down, Workner Road, that southern curve, ultimately, if you could put your cursor on there, Emily, that southern curve where there's, yep, exactly. So there was a few incidents there where, whereby we thought some additional delineation, meaning signing. And then also there's a high friction surface. So if you increase the friction on the pavement, that will keep better chance of keeping the cars on the road. So higher friction coefficient, so that ultimately it really looks like a permanent chip seal. It's an epoxy based product. The last application would have been if you've driven out by Ridge and Hack. So that was one, and then we've got some ones that are going to go on this year on Dexter Town Hall Road. So that's kind of one of those applications that if you look at this and use this treatment, it looks like that's will score well. So we did that, and we're also looking at the curves at Workner and Island Lake and Stouffer and Island Lake as well. So we're going to probably be upgrading signage there and looking at delineation as well. So that's one of our first applications. And even within the safety pot of money, there's different pots within that. There's ultimately, you've got a systemic program, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. There's a rural category, and then kind of an urban category as well. So look at it that way. So the next application, any questions on that? I'm sorry. Before I
Commissioner McCullum.
Yes,
Yes.
I don't know if I heard you right. I remember you saying depending on crash reports, and what was that before that, UV?
UD10s. So that's the official form that police officers, when they come on the scene, they'll have to do a report to do an investigation. So they'll fill out the UD10, which is basically the crash report.
Oh,
If
okay.
you're ever in an accident, you definitely want to get a hold of the UD10 so that you can file it with your insurance company. But those UD10s basically go into this large database that Michigan State Police keeps track of, and then we can do inquiries and queries, and really we've got through our RoadSoft system, we can also kind of data dive into that and put it geographically as well. Any other questions?
Commissioner Yamas?
So that UD10, is that through the state police or any police department?
All the police departments file them.
All
So
police
that's
departments.
the report code,
Okay.
Form number.
form number. Yeah, big government forms.
Mhm. Like 1099 or W-2 or any of that
Exactly.
lingo. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Douglas Fuller.
Thank you. Matt, do we actually have some accident history of consequence at Island Lake and Stouffer?
No, I was just talking with Elena and Brent this morning about that. There aren't any significant patterns or crashes at the intersections. And these are what you would call Y intersections.
Right.
We debated on, well, is there a need to do something different as far as geometry? But there wasn't an accident pattern or issues
Yeah,
that we were seeing.
I just have never been aware of any, and I was wondering what I was missing. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And so really the crashes of record were on that southern portion of Workner Road.
And I don't get that at all, but
That's been true for a while. I believe
Yeah,
that's the Noah
I
farm,
do.
or it was the Noah farm.
And really, when you're coming up the intersections, it's kind of a known, all right, people that know the road. It's those little jogs in geometry as you're traveling the road that where we see patterns kind of arrive.
Tomball and I-94.
Yes, that's a big one. That's a known issue. Fortunately, it's not for us to deal with, only from a maintenance perspective. But yeah, so example, Dexter Town Hall Road, this year's current safety project. There's some geometry. It's not necessarily at an intersection, but it's along the traveled way. And as you come about, that's when I think drivers may be less familiar with the route, need to pay more attention, slow down. We obviously have the curve warning advance and the warning advisory speed in black and yellow as well. And then adding additional signs or larger signs, and then also that high friction surface. That's really kind of the basis of what we're going to apply for here. So we're including the intersection curves and the curve of issue.
Commissioner McCollum.
Yeah, so this is a high traffic area that needs you say a roundabout?
Nope, nope. No, these are lower volume roadways.
Oh, okay.
So we don't see any need for capacity or that we're looking to deal with a larger volume of traffic. We're just looking to address the known issues from the crash reports.
Okay.
Fair to say? Anything I missed? You guys do the effort.
These are primary roads though.
Yes.
And this is also one of the few paved roads in the area. If you're going from, let's say, M52 to North Territorial, and you don't want to go all the way sort of north and west, which is where 52 goes. This is the way you sort of wiggle your way around on paved. If you want to stay on paved roads, this is how you would do it in that area.
Okay.
Yeah, Linden Township, obviously not a lot of direct routes. There's a lot of beautiful areas, but a lot of roads end up having a lot of curvatures because of the lakes and wetland areas. Exactly.
But I'm wondering, is there, with the way things are going, will there be an increase too? If this is the only paved road?
Yeah, I mean, we that's one of the things that we do is we do a count program every year. So we keep track of the volumes that we're seeing. And so if we see upticks that maybe raise concerns, where we're seeing a lot of volume or development in the area. So traffic and safety is kind of the hub of all that data and understanding of development. They see traffic impact studies. The count program would assess kind of our primary network, and then obviously we take that all into account when we're putting these applications together.
For the people that want to go from Chelsea to Unadilla, this is the way you do it.
Okay.
The number-
Remember that.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the number of people who want to go to Unadilla on any one given day is fairly limited.
If Brent and Elena, would you please stand? Some of us don't know you.
Well done.
Under the radar
Right.
magicians up there. So really appreciate your work all these years. Thanks, Matt. Questions for Matt?
We can go to the next application. So this is Old US 12 at I-94. A similar application. If we could move the boardroom, yep, to the left-hand side, there we go. So there's a lot of curvature on Old US 12 through this interchange, which is kind of a not normal instance, very atypical design, but it still works. But we could make it a little safer, I think. And what we're seeing is again, some issues on the curve, particularly north of the interchange, that one that's curving to the off to the edge of the page to the northeast. Oh, keep going. There we are, that curve there. And then obviously through the interchange, you've got curvature as well. And then there's a slight curve in the lower left-hand corner at, I believe it's Varner Road. Yep, right there. So it's just a slight curve there as well. So in doing the evaluation, we thought we would do treatments and make application for similar treatment. We were looking at delineation, we're looking at high friction surface, and ultimately we thought this was a good application. In this case, the volumes are quite a bit higher than the previous one. But ultimately, we're not looking to do any geometric changes. It would just be those other treatments.
Commissioner Doug Fuller.
Do we have any crash history of consequence or rapidity, I guess, at Old 12 and Pierce?
Great question.
There are a few, there are a few who, but nothing like significant to, have a pattern or specific treatment.
Yeah, so ultimately there's not significant, there are a few on the radar at that and it's to be expected. It's where you've got the ramp coming off from westbound I-94.
It's a horrible
Opposite
design,
of
may I just
Pierce
say.
Road.
Mhm.
And then you've got a curve and it's difficult to see if you're looking
I was gonna say the site, if you're.
southwest,
The
it's
one
tough.
that, yeah,
It's very
the
difficult.
one that causes me to personally to have consternation is if I'm eastbound on Old 12 and want to go north on Pierce, which for reasons, whatever, is a common way I get into Chelsea is on Kavanaugh Lake Road. There is inadequate sightline when you're eastbound on Old 12, when you get to Pierce and you're trying to figure out if that person coming off I-94 is really going to stop or not. And you're also trying to figure out what's coming around that curve westbound.
Certainly if the incidents increase substantially, it may trigger a warrant, and that would trigger a conversation with MDOT to look at potentially signalizing that intersection. So that's something to take on potentially to mitigate an issue that if we saw enough crashes or if there was an increase or in severity or frequency, we would look at talking with MDOT for that
We
particular.
killed 4 people over a 5-year span. That would set it off.
Well, that certainly would be something, any accident we were going to be evaluating and taking seriously.
Commissioner McCollum.
The improvements that will be made, will it help like during winter time, or will it make any difference?
Yeah, potentially could. The high friction surface, certainly it may have a little bit more friction coefficient but wintertime, it depends if they're clear and dry. Obviously you've got a little more, but if it's icy, you still need to drive appropriately and for the weather conditions. So our last one, if there's any other questions on this one? Our last one is a fairly straightforward systemic treatment. That means it's ultimately what we're looking at here is Willis Road is highlighted in yellow from the city of Saline all the way over to the eastern county line, Rawsonville Road. There is a gap between Platt and Carpenter because of the interchange and number of lanes. We did gap that mile section out. Ultimately, what we're looking at is putting rumble strips, centerline rumble, and then painting that corridor. Centerline rumble helps with staying in your lane, obviously. That crossing of the center line is a very dangerous situation. So we want to try and prevent that. We also want to try and avoid them leaving the road if they were to cross. So that's one of the treatments, a systemic treatment that you can apply to a corridor. And we thought this one was an appropriate one. One of the things that we take into consideration is, all right, what is the condition of the pavement? Where are we at with our chip seal? And good news, pavement condition is pretty good. We just did a complete chip seal of Willis Road, so we think it's appropriate. Hey, this is a good timing wise to put a treatment out there, because we don't want to put a treatment and then the next year repave it. That's not something that we would be interested in. It wouldn't be a good use of those funds. A good example is we coordinated last year Wagner Road, where we had a safety project for the widening at Wagner Waters. And then this year we'll be corrugating that center line as well after the chip seal that we did late season last year. So any questions on this one?
Commissioner Doug Fuller.
Just by the nature of the land adjacent to Willis Road, and over the next month, our farmers will start doing more field work. And a lot of them will go up and down Willis Road with seriously outsized equipment, occupying somewhat more than a 10-foot lane, shall we say. I just want us to bear that in mind when we're upgrading that road, or upgrading the surface of it. Not to mention, as we have greatly improved Willis Road over the last 5 or 6 years, the average speed is also going up from the, speaking about speed bumps, if the road's rough enough, which parts of Willis Road were, will slow people down. I noticed down in Ohio, they're ahead of us weather-wise on US 127, 50 miles south of Michigan. Friday, as a matter of fact, I was down there, and there were 2 John Deere articulated all-wheel drive tractors with triples. 3 tires on each of the 4 wheel positions, pulling, to be sure, folded up vertical tillage equipment, but they moved over as far as they could get. In other words, the right-hand wheels were, the furthest one was actually off even the slope. It was in the air. And the left-hand side triples were still 5 feet past the center line on US 127, which was fairly startling. I mean, they were coming up the road at appropriate speeds for agricultural equipment. I was going the posted speed limit going south, and I thought, my word, I've got just about 8 feet here before I slide off into the very deep ditches that Ohio likes to have alongside their roads. Interesting, but Willis Road needs to be thought about that way. Also, textile, just east of State Road, from the portion that we just rebuilt. That has now, because it's smooth, attracted a disproportionate number of agricultural equipment going up and down that road. Not that it's non-stop, but seasonal implication, seasonal occupational hazards on Textile Road. All of a sudden, we've got 15 feet wide farm equipment going up and down that road.
No, it's an important thing to keep in mind that we have a number of users, and agricultural is definitely one that's predominant throughout our county.
That's why I like the signal at Schneider and Pleasant Lake.
Flashing beacon.
Well, exactly.
Don't want to tell people they're traffic signals. So, that's all I had as far as safety applications. The other point I'd like to point out in the board packet, you do have under staff report, the quarterly report for traffic and safety and permits. If you have any questions on that or anything else, covered a lot of ground. So thank you for your time.
I have one question.
Yes.
M52 across from Aggregate Industries driveway, southbound lane. Big dip in the road. It appears that there's been asphalt applied relatively recently, but much longer, and people are going to be bottoming out on that stretch.
Okay.
You come up on it pretty quickly. As you know, the speed limit there.
And I
is-
don't know why MDOT, who I think,
Yeah, and I don't know why just that side of the road. I mean,
well,
it's
yeah,
not
there
the
was something there they
southbound, it's
dug
the
out, and I have
northbound
no idea what that was.
lane. So anyway,
Okay.
if you're out driving around.
Yeah,
Matt,
we,
and
we
could-
have been in conversations with MDOT about that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
All right,
That's it for staff.
that's it for staff. Okay. I want to point out that our next board meeting is on May 3rd at 1 p.m. There is no working session that day. And the next virtual chat sessions are tomorrow, and I will be the road commissioner for that one. And then April 27th It's Commissioner Doug Fuller will be staffing that one. There's no further business to come before the board. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. Support. Karen, if you would please.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCullum,
Yes.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.